ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. It's live. It's local. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Coming at you about an hour and a half later than usual because we had to get another Reds victory in. And after the way the Reds looked last night, that's what they needed, even though there's still a lot to be concerned about. Injuries are starting to catch up with the Cincinnati Reds. Joey Votto fractures his thumb in this outing. And David Bell, Reds manager, says Joey Votto is going to be out at least a month. Now, luckily, the Reds don't really ride or die based on his offensive performance, but Joey Votto is actually playing pretty well this year, and not having him in that lineup moving forward, it's just another veteran presence in the lineup that's going to be missing. The Cincinnati Reds, Kev, over their next 31 days, they have 30 games.
Goodness gracious.
30 games in the next 31 days. And they have a lot of guys who are banged up, and they have a lot of guys who are going to be missing some time due to suspensions, which we'll talk about here in a moment. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. The Cincinnati Reds here on Dayton. Some of the Reds, 1410 Wing AM, come away with a 1-0 extra innings victory over the Chicago White Sox. The Reds improved to 14-15 on the season, and right now, again, standings don't really matter a whole heck of a lot, but as I mentioned on yesterday's show, it is one of those situations where I do pay attention to not their record, not who's in first and who's in last, but games back. How many games back are the Cincinnati Reds? Three games back is where the Reds currently sit right now with the win today. They get shut out yesterday 9-0, and that was a very ugly performance, but the Reds offense is not clicking as much as what we have seen up until this point. And at one point, the Reds had a plus 31 run differential, Kev, on the season. Right now, they have a 0 run differential. They have scored the same amount of runs that they have given up. Clearly, the bats have kind of not fallen asleep, but we knew they weren't going to. I said it at the beginning. When they were averaging 9-10 runs a game for the first week and a half of the season, I said that's not it's going to feel as if the Reds have gotten worse as the season goes on because they started out so hot. There's no way in hell. The best team in the majors last year, the Dodgers, averaged 6 runs a ball game. When the Reds averaged 6 runs a ball game, we're like, oh man, they're struggling compared to what they were doing at the beginning.
Right.
Well, teams are going to average 9 to 10 runs a game. The Reds still playing very good baseball, but I wanted to open up. Very good game. Again, the Reds find a way to get it done. A lot of times Reds are losing that type of game. Tony La Russa, couple interesting blunders down the stretch there. Again, having a pitcher, he had their pitcher on third and 2 outs, and he sends the guy on a steal, and it's like, why do that? You basically just gave it away when you had that because they had an opportunity to bring in not the winning run, but at least the go-ahead run. Very interesting. Tony La Russa, for being an experienced manager, just making some weird blunders there. About as big as a blunder is me not having a pen. So I'm going to casually ask for a pen in a very casual way in the middle of this show. There we go. That's a marker. Hold on. Let's keep going. There we go. I'll go with that blue one right there. Okay. So the Cincinnati Reds, interesting development yesterday. It was announced that, the Reds getting quite a few of these little back and forth little arguments with their opponent, right?
Yep.
Amir Garrett handed a 7-game suspension. It came out 7 minutes. You're showing the number 7, suspended 7 games. I'm saying it happened 7 minutes after the show yesterday. 6:07 is when the news broke yesterday that Amir Garrett was going to be suspended 7 games because, he instigated. He was John at the Chicago Cubs, which then led to this big back and forth. Now, there was no acts of violence that happened. No one put any hands on one another. Everything was fine.
That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games. And on top of that, remember Castellanos back in game 2 against the Cardinals when he kind of showed up, at home plate, and he kind of, showed his muscles, and he was taunting. Yeah, taunting is it. If taunting bothers you, look, I get it. You're not allowed to taunt. This is where I'm about to break my own rule. I've always said this when it comes to college athletics, especially. Remember when Chase Young. Remember when Chase Young, he flew his girlfriend out to watch a game, and everyone was talking about how stupid that was, that he couldn't even fly his girlfriend out to watch him play a game, and he got suspended. And I said, we're focusing on the wrong thing. We are focusing on how dumb the rule is instead of focusing on the fact that he broke it. The bottom line is just because you find a rule stupid doesn't mean that you just get to break it. You don't get to speed on the highway or anywhere in town. And when the cop pulls you over, you say, well, I think the speed limit's stupid, sir. That's why I was going fast. Oh, that's a great reason. Go ahead on with your day. You just keep speeding now. You hear? Like, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. And we're getting to the point where we're getting a little too fired up about Amir Garrett getting suspended 7 games. Let me ask you this, Kev, from an NBA perspective. Let's say Kevin Love yells at the referee. Mm-hmm. He's going to get to yell at the referee 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 times. What happens if Draymond Green yells at the referee?
Oh, yeah.
Beep, beep. Now, this isn't
quick T.
This isn't a white player yelling at an official and a black player yelling at an official. It's not race related because I'm already getting that right away. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is reputation. Thank you. Reputation matters. And what the Reds have established over the last couple of years, even going back to when they had Puig 2 years ago, is they like to ruffle feathers.
Chippy.
They like to jaw. They like to taunt. They like to be cocky. They like to be arrogant. What the bat flipping, cocky, arrogant, son of a guns. I forgot what the saying was at the beginning of the year. I love that. I love Amir Garrett. I wish his ERA wasn't at 10, but I love Amir Garrett. I love that he has that presence. I think Major League Baseball needs more of those personalities because we talk about it more. We not relate to it more, but it gets our attention. We talk about it. It kind of the top of the mind awareness. I love when Amir Garrett acts like that. I do not love when he doesn't back it up with play on the field. But the bottom line is just because the rule is stupid, just because we as fans think that not being allowed to taunt is dumb does not mean that Amir Garrett gets to continue to do it. Amir Garrett didn't get a 7-game suspension just because, they just threw out a random number. It's because of reputation. They have less tolerance of Amir Garrett doing it because this isn't the first time. I mean, Amir Garrett, remember 2 years ago, throws the glove down and dives into a pile. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, don't get me wrong, but mosh pit style, dives into just an entire team of Pirates and just goes after him without even any backup. That's what was even cooler about it. And so he has a reputation. This isn't the league hating on the Reds. This is the league getting tired of the same old crap from the Cincinnati Reds. I don't view it as crap. They do. So just a reminder, I am not siding with Major League Baseball. I'm getting tired of the lack of they don't have any real explanation for it. They just keep chalking it up to safety protocols. What's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now when COVID's just one of the many other diseases out there that you have to worry about? But are you going to continue using COVID for the rest of MLB's existence as every time we don't like a player doing something, we'll just use, safety protocols. He incited a riot. I mean, that's insane. We have Kevin. You know what happens if you bat flip? Okay, if you bat flip, you're not going to get suspended. But you know what the other team does when you bat flip? Bink, they throw a ball 100 miles per hour at you, and nothing happens. They get a warning to both benches. Warning. So guys are allowed to throw an object, a ball, a hard ball, 100 miles per hour at somebody because they don't like how they bat flipped, but Amir Garrett just jaws a little bit. You give him a 7-game suspension. Again, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's too big of a suspension, but we got to stop doing this whole, I don't get it. I don't know why Major League Baseball is doing it. Guys, just because you think the rule is dumb does not mean it gives Amir Garrett the right to do it. Imagine if the Reds were really good. Imagine Game 7 of the World Series or Game 5. Let's say Game 5 of the World Series, Kevin. He does that and the league suspends him. You could be mad at the league, but I'm going to be mad at Amir Garrett because he knows better. And this isn't just this year that this has happened. This is going on the last couple of years. Hell, even before David Bell got here. So this team needs to cool it a little bit. I love the personalities, but come on now. Not every time you play the Cubs or Cardinals or Pirates in the division do you need to pump your chest, especially when your record's below 500 and it's not like you're on top of the division and making sure you're marking your territory. Mm-hmm. You're getting marked on. You're not doing the marking. You're getting marked on. All I got to say is I love the Reds. I love Amir Garrett. I love the personality of these guys. I love that there's some fight. I love that there's some grit. That's why they're winning games like they do today on bad days because they just continue to fight. I love that about this team. David Bell has a temper. David Bell is a scary human being. He is very calm and he talks like this and he's very boring. And I've talked to him in person and he's just as boring in person as he is on TV. But my goodness, there's something about the way an umpire makes a bad call and he goes from 0 to 10. I've never seen anything like that. Lou Piniella, if Lou Piniella takes a base and chucks it across the field, field. That's no surprise. If Bobby Knight takes a chair and chucks it across the floor, it's no surprise. But what you don't expect is the very introverted David Bell to go from sitting quietly in the dugout, not talking, maybe saying 10 words the entire night, to using every curse word in the English-speaking language at an umpire. I've never seen a guy who can go from 0 to 10 that quick. But I do love that part about David Bell. Here's what I would like to see. Did you see the Rangers from the NHL call out? I don't even talk a lot of hockey. I don't even know what exactly happened. Mm-hmm. They were not happy. The team was not happy with the lack of a suspension or the lack of punishment that was handed to another NHL player that could have harmed somebody or knocked a player out for the rest of the season. And their whole organization came out with this long post about how they're disappointed in the NHL's handling of this. Here's what I want to see. I tweeted this out real early this morning. I want to see David Bell come out with a statement. I want to see Phil Castellini or Bob Castellini. I want to see who's their GM of the day. I mean, they have closer by committee. They have GM by committee whenever it's convenient, Nick Kroll. So have Nick Kroll put out a statement calling out Major League Baseball saying, we understand that we need to get our players a little bit more under control, but you have no basis for how you're handing out these suspensions. You're just going out all willy-nilly. 2-game suspension for you. All right, that's it. 7-game suspension for you. There's no baseline for how they are determining how they're going to do this. That's the problem that I have.
To play devil's advocate for the fans' perspective of everybody, them getting up in arms and getting very upset with Major League Baseball, when you see the Houston Astros literally cheat in the game and get proven they were cheating to help them win a World Series and no players get suspended, that's why the fans are upset. Like, hold on, they cheat and win a World Series, nothing happens to the players.
Thank you.
We taunt, we get suspended 7 games, we get suspended 2 games. Like, those are not equal. Taunting and cheating are 2 totally different ends of the spectrum. So I think from the fans' perspective, that's why they're mad. Like, you just can't justify us being suspended for 7 games for taunting. All right, you get ejected, fine, whatever. But they cheated and won a World Series doing it, and you did nothing outside of, fire some upper management guys. And I know everything went down with the Yankees yesterday, bleep you and all that type of stuff. But those are words. I'm surprised nobody got hit with the ball like you were talking about before, but that's where the fans are.
But that's allowed, though. That would be allowed, right?
Yeah, true.
Like if the Cubs retaliated and threw a ball 98 miles per hour at someone's head, they'd either get tossed or a warning, and then the game moves on. But you jaw at somebody, you say your mama jokes or you do whatever, and all of a sudden that's where Major League Baseball draws the line. Again, to recap, just because you find a rule stupid doesn't mean that the players get to keep breaking that rule. It's like Draymond Green. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's at the point now in the NBA where if he even looks at official the wrong way, they're teeing him up. Remember a few months ago, he yelled at his teammate. I think it was James Wiseman, the rookie. He was screaming at James Wiseman, kind of barking at him, giving him instructions, and the official thought he was yelling at him because that's exactly what Draymond normally does, and he teed him.
Yeah.
Draymond Green got a technical for yelling at his own teammate because the officials are so used to him causing hell and raising hell every time he's out on the floor. And so then Draymond's doing this, oh man, why are they attacking me? It's like, really? Come on. I mean, yes, it's wrong. The officials were wrong for doing that, but let's not act as we're so shocked as if why they did it. Because
did that one get rescinded?
Not in the game, which means no. It didn't get rescinded.
Wow.
Because, isn't that crazy? Like, he even tried explaining himself. And again, you know what, though? Every time a player says something, I'm pretty sure they tell the official, oh, that wasn't at you. I was just mad at myself, or I was just yelling at, so-and-so,
Right.
But no, that's kind of where I'm at with this is it's a reputation thing for Amir Garrett now. I love that personality of him, but I don't believe that moving forward, he's going to get to do that. If a pitcher that's normally quiet, like if a TJ Antone or a Lucas Sims, or if anyone else you bring in that doesn't have that personality, if they pull that once, they might get a little bit of a warning or a fine or whatever, but it's because of Amir Garrett at this point. It's like, okay, we've seen the same song and dance with you, dude. You got to cool it. And it's a reputation thing moving forward. I still don't like it. I wish the Reds would defend him because it wasn't just him. It was Nick Castellanos. You also had Baez who jumped over the dugout fence and went running at the players too. So it's like we've even seen Yadier Molina There's actual a picture of him grabbing the back of the neck of Castellanos, and he didn't get anything. It's always the Reds. It's, it goes against everything we were taught when we were younger. I would always instigate the fights with my brother. I would always pick on them. I would always go in there and just throw stuff at him or pinch him or do something stupid. And I'm in my 30s and still do that. But no, my mom, then my brother would get mad and swing at me or throw something at me, and then I'd go tell on him, and then guess who would get in trouble? It's not the person who starts, it's the person who finishes it. Except that's not how Major League, you could tell whoever's running Major League Baseball doesn't have kids because they don't know that rule. They are punishing the retaliation. They're not punishing the retaliation. They're actually punishing the person who, my mom never punished me or my dad never punished me for starting it. They punished my brother for retaliating. Major League Baseball, they're punishing the me. They're punishing the me. They're punishing the me of this. They're punishing the person who started it. Now, you could argue that the Cubs started it or that the Cardinals started it. The bottom line is this. I love the chirpiness. I love the chippiness. I love the aggression. I love all of that. I think baseball needs more of it. But the unfortunate part is baseball's not going to allow it, and they're definitely not letting the Reds do it. So the Reds need to be mature and understand that they're not going to get away with as much as other teams because they've built this reputation now. Now they got to be careful with how they act because it's going to, 30 games in the next 31 days, Kev. They have one off day in the next month. They just had 2 off days this week. They have 1 off day for the entire next 31 days. And you don't have Amir Garrett. Now, some are joking and saying, oh, good, we don't need him. That ERA's at 10. Stop. So I saw earlier today that a lot of, fans are saying, just shut up and pitch. Now, I know that has a negative connotation going back to the LeBron James thing. When anytime an athlete, voices their opinion, whether it's against police brutality or anything political, it's shut up and dribble. That has a negative connotation. But I really do hope the Cincinnati Reds say, hey, if you want to voice out on anything, you have the green light. But as far as jawing on the field, shut up and pitch, please, because you're killing us right now. Like, that's really what this is coming down to.
Yeah, you got to think about it. If you're out 7 games, and you're not a starter, you're literally going to miss 7 games. So smack dab in the middle of a 30-game stretch, which is, just to think about is crazy. It's almost thinking about like kids playing AAU basketball, like playing 5 games in one day. But yeah, that's crazy that they have that many games coming up, and we play. You play me. I play you. We play each other. Let's go.
I see a couple more wins coming up on the way.
And I appreciate y'all beating the White Sox today because that moves us into second place in the AL Central, which is absolutely terrible.
So the Reds are on the road, 3 at Cleveland, 3 at Pittsburgh, 4 at Colorado, and then they return home on the 17th. So they're on the road for, off day tomorrow. They hit the road. They play Cleveland, but then they got Pittsburgh, Colorado coming up. Then they have the Giants and the Brewers are sitting atop the NL Central as we currently sit here. Are you the same way? Like, I don't care. Actually, the Cardinals sitting at the top. How about that? The Cardinals are 17-12 right now. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're plus 20 in run differential right now. The Cardinals have totally just flipped it around, and it really started with that Reds series when they swept the Reds. From the time that they swept the Reds and moving forward, they've won 8 of their last 10. They've won 5 straight. They're cruising right now as far as that's concerned. But I don't really care about who's in first and who's in second, who's in last. I care about how many games back you are.
Right.
And right now the Reds are 3 games back. I want to see that number stay there or obviously move up. I want them to get to
you said yesterday 5, right?
5 is the max of. I'm at panic mode at 5. If you're 5 back, I'm panicking. 3, it's still you're 1 series away from getting back to the top of the division. But you're also that's the thing about this. I know people say it's a 162 game season, but you're 1 series away from becoming 6 games back.
Right.
And then 1 more series away from being 9 games back. And then at that point, you're playing catch up the rest of the way. The Cardinals in this division is not as strong as it's been in years past, but it's a very disciplined Cardinals team. This Brewers team has been very disciplined as well. We didn't give them enough credit. We talked so much about the Cubs decline, about how the Cardinals didn't do much until they added, they added their shortstop later in the offseason before the season or later in the offseason, literally right before the season started. So this is going to be an interesting race to the finish line. The Reds are an 80-plus win team. Now you're saying, I'm giving them too much credit. No, they're going to win a lot of games and lose a lot of games. They have too much talent in that lineup. They have just good enough pitching to win some ball games, but they have just too many flaws to win anything consistently. They're going to be right there in the mix of things at the end. wild card is most likely going to be their feet. I thought they were good enough to win the division, but man, these bullpen issues, the lack of consistency within the rotations, kind of frustrating. The lineup, they have good firepower in there, but they're just not all clicking all at one time, and that's baseball. But this Reds team, I asked it last week. I said, when you think of this Reds team, what's their identity? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. They're not really known for their pitching. You want to say they're known for their run production, but again, their run differential's at 0 right now. Who they were the first week and a half of the season. By the way, I wasn't overreacting to that. It was exciting to watch Shaw. I know he hasn't said anything about it yet, but I know he will.
What's up, Shaw?
I never said. I remember that day arguing with him about how the Reds were not going to be that the rest of the season. I even brought that up to you that day. I said, they're going to come back down to earth. They're going to average about 6 runs a game, and we're going to think, oh, what the hell? They're slowing down. Well, it's because you're not going to average 10 runs a game. But overall, I don't know who this Reds team is because they're so inconsistent offensively. They're so inconsistent from a pitching perspective. I don't think they have the strongest manager in Major League Baseball. But they have some personalities. They're going to win games. They're going to lose games. They're going to be interesting. One week we're going to think they're out of it. The next week it's like, man, maybe they have a chance to win the division. But they've taken 2 or 3 from the Dodgers at LA. They took 2 or 3 from the Cubs at home, and then they just split with the White Sox, a very good team. Keep in mind, in your division, the White Sox right there at the top with the Royals, 16-13. But your Cleveland Indians only 1 game behind first place and a half game behind the White Sox.
And they just beat Kansas City twice back-to-back, and they finish up the series tonight with Kansas City. So, it's always great to beat the teams that are below you, but it's more important to beat the teams that are ahead of you because, you can gain more ground that way.
All right. One more time. The Reds win in 10, 1-0 over the White Sox. The Reds win with a walk-off win, bottom of the 10th. And with that being said, the Cincinnati Reds improved to 1 game under 500 now. 14-15 is their record. They are 3 games back in the NL Central. The St. Louis Cardinals in first at 17-12. The Brewers 17-13. And they're the Reds 14-15 right there in the middle. How about the Cubs 14-16? They're 3.5 back. And then the Pirates, who were kind of there in the middle for a while, they're back at the bottom of the standings where we projected them to be from the very beginning. As far as what's coming up for the Cincinnati Reds, again, 30 games in the next 31 days, only 1 off day, and Joey Votto out for a month after fracturing his thumb. So that's one piece that's going to be missing. Eugenio Suarez in the lineup, but technically considered missing, has still yet to be able to consistently hit the ball and put the ball in play. Moustakas back over the last couple of games. We're going to see just how fragile this team is because they're going to have to rely on a lot of pieces moving forward. What's coming up for the Reds? They wrapped up with the White Sox today. They have 3 with Cleveland on the road, 3 with Pittsburgh, 4 at Colorado, and then they return home against San Francisco and Milwaukee. That Milwaukee series that starts on the 21st, that's a big one because that's one of the teams ahead of them in the standings. The Reds do not play the Cardinals again, Kev, until the second half of the season. So that's what's tough is the Cardinals are ahead of you. I love those head-to-heads because you win in the division. That's how you close the gap. You got to keep winning out of the division to keep afloat. But when you play your in-division games, especially teams are ahead of you in the standings, that's where you can make some noise or you could pull away if you're ahead. But that's a big one with the Brewers starting on the 21st. And again, they do not play. Oh, I'm sorry. They do play the Cardinals in June. So they're at St. Louis, a 4-game series starting on June 3rd. So that's a big one. I lied. The next time I saw them, I thought it was in July. But no, it's June. So that's a big one. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments. 457-9464. I wanted to hear from fans regarding Amir Garrett. Was the suspension fair or not? Do you see my point about I'm ticked off that he's suspended as well, but you can't act surprised is why Major League Baseball did it. He has a reputation. This isn't the first time that he has incited these brawls between teams. And I know this one wasn't physical, but he's constantly chirping, constantly putting his team in this position. Whether you like the rule or not, the bottom line is it's a rule. He has to follow it. He needs to calm down because right now it's hurting his team. 30 games, the next 31 days. They don't have one of their top relief pitchers, although he's struggled this year. Still, you don't want to be shorthanded when you're playing this many games, especially this early in the season. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Kirk Herbstreit from ESPN. Football has played a big part in my life, but football's also a lot more than just big plays, wins, losses, and championships. Football teaches young people about dedication, sacrifice, teamwork, and overcoming adversity. So let's respect the game and get out and support your local school. You'll be amazed of all the good things you see happening at Ohio schools.
This message brought to you by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the OHSAA Radio Network.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Bills Mafia is still coming after me.
Uh-oh. So you said they're coming after me too, right?
Yeah, they called you a clown.
Me a clown?
I was being the clown.
I defended their quarterback.
You just became part of the circus, I guess. I'm not really sure. And I don't think I ever bashed. See, the thing is that the Bills Mafia didn't understand. Doesn't surprise me again. Bills fans are probably I say Bengals fans are dumb. They're just delusional. Bills fans are dumb. I mean, they're the ones that light themselves on fire and jump through tables on fire. Like, that's a dumb fan base. Sorry. Like, that they're morons. Like, I don't even know how else to explain that. I mean, who in their right mind gets on top of their drunk people? Yeah. But there's drunk people everywhere. But there only seems to be one fan base that's stupid enough and attention-seeking enough to light themselves on fire and jump through a table, or to light the table on fire and jump through the table. Morons.
They go out like this. They were doing that before they were winning football games.
Also dumb. Browns fans got drunk and barked. Also stupid. But, that's what do we call that in sports? Passion. What do we call it anywhere else? Stupid. So there you go. But what they didn't understand is they came at me and said, they called us clowns and all this. You defended him. I never really said anything bad about Josh Allen. My whole point is that, and by the way, what's funny is when Baker got that 5th-year option picked up, people said, see, they don't trust him. They think he's trash. He's no good. He's no Josh Allen. He's no Lamar Jackson. By the way, all three really good quarterbacks. I think you could argue for hours of how you would rank them, but all three of them got their 5th-year option picked up.
Of course.
So that's good business. I don't even care if Baker was Aaron Rodgers. You pick up that 5th-year option. You extend your shelf life of cap flexibility to be able to keep the roster intact. Because why would you pay him ahead of time? You know who got hurt by that? The Rams. The Rams got premature with their payment of Jared Goff at the time. That hurt them. That did not work out in their favor. So that's why I think it would be stupid. So with that being said, all I was saying is that the way too many analysts out there were saying that, Baker needs the 5th-year option picked up, but Josh Allen, you pay him now. He needs paid now. And I said, well, let's hold up, because Josh Allen coming off that season, that great season, MVP, conversation, never said he was bad. I just said, let's relax. Let's stop acting like Josh Allen has been Josh Allen for 3 years. Josh Allen has been Josh Allen for 1 year. Josh Allen has steadily got better every single season. And then it turned into what we just saw this previous year. But Josh Allen was drafted by a playoff team. Josh Allen was drafted by again, the Bills isn't a great organization, but they have good ownership right now. They have a good general manager. They have a good coach. They're just fundamentally sound right now from the top to the bottom. And it was a much better situation. Baker got drafted by an 0-16 team. Okay, you had the Hugh Jackson as the head coach, and of course he's arguing with every assistant coach. I mean, he has no clue what he's doing. They have no clue what they're doing. Freddie Kitchens then becomes his coach. They fire him after 1 year. Then they bring in a rookie head coach with a rookie general manager in the AFC North, and Baker leads into the playoffs and gets a win against Kev's Pittsburgh Steelers. Every show, I have to make sure I drop that just once for Kev Nash over here. So my whole point is to sit there and say that Josh Allen definitely deserves to be paid early and Baker doesn't. I said that's kind of foolish. I think Josh had a really good season, but to sit there and say that he definitely needs paid. So that's where I came out with it. You would have thought that I said Baker is better than Josh Allen at no point, but I did bring up the stats. I showed the stats that Baker actually, he does have more passing yards. He has more pass completions. He has a higher completion percentage. He's thrown for more touchdowns. He's also has a winning record in Cleveland. He has a playoff win in Cleveland. Josh Allen has more playoff wins. He has one more playoff win than Baker, but it's besides the point. Oh, but he has more playoff appearances. You were drafted by a playoff team. Baker drafted by a 0-16 Browns team on top of that. So that really doesn't matter to me. Josh Allen should be ahead of Baker in progression because he went to the better situation. So is what it is. But you would have thought I was just ripping the Bills, and I mean, their fans are morons, but that's a good organization right now. Josh Allen's really good, but they are obsessed with his rushing ability. Oh, let's leave out the rushing stats. He runs for more yards and rushes for more touchdowns. It's because you don't have a running back, and he is a better runner. But if you want rushing stats, you want rushing touchdowns, get a running back. Get around. Baker doesn't need to run. And Baker runs just enough to be able to extend plays, to pick up first downs. Hell, how they beat Pittsburgh in that final week of the regular season.
Bootleg,
and he had to run to make a play right there. So the point is I hate when people say, yeah, well, he can run. That's what makes him better. Well, look, that is one trait. That's an extra trait. That's an extra qualification that makes you very good at your job. But to sit there and say, well, Aaron Rodgers can't run, so he's worse than Josh Allen. Tom Brady can't run, so he's worse than Josh Allen. Baker can't run. Big Ben can't run. All these guys can't run, so they're worse than Josh Allen because he could run. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, point is, they're all fired up. They're still coming at me. Even today, my phone keeps dinging, going off because they're still yelling at me. So is what it.
Hi, Bills Mafia. I'm your friend. I like Josh Allen.
You're guilty by association. I don't dislike Josh Allen. I dislike them. You're the moron.
Telling them where I'm coming from. I've rocked with Josh Allen. You know, I've been rocking with the Bills for a while, man. One of my favorite offenses to watch as a kid was the K-Gun, you know, with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas and the boys. You know, they should have won that first Super Bowl versus the Giants if they would have fed Thurman Thomas the ball just a tad bit more. Scott Norwood, I'm sure he's still a wanted man up there in the great city of Buffalo, you know.
Is what it is.
I also love the hip hop group Griselda from Buffalo. You know, Conway the Machine. You know those guys. You know,
you don't need to pander to them. They're idiots.
Just saying.
They jump.
I rocks with Griselda.
But you're pandering.
I'm not pandering.
You're like, don't hate me, Bills Mafia. They're dumb. You want dumb people to like you?
I want everybody to like
Bills. Not Bills fans. Like, this is the nicest thing I've ever said about Bengals fans. They're not as dumb as Bills fans. Kev, I can't believe you said that.
YNG 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
And that is our top of the hour legal. We are officially in hour number 3 in the last hour of the show as we sit here today. How about this? I turn on, wow. I stuttered like you would not believe right
Remix.
There. That was, yeah, I should have just owned it. It is what it is. So Ron Howard below says, rumors flying around about Aaron Rodgers to Cleveland. See you, Hayfield. And those aren't rumors. There's nothing really out there about Aaron Rodgers going to Cleveland. But it's been so locked in that Denver is the landing spot for Aaron Rodgers that we haven't even considered where the other teams that would make sense. You know, you start gravitating towards the West Coast because that's where he's from. You start looking at the Raiders. I think that if the Rams had not pulled the trigger already on getting their guy from Detroit to Matthew Stafford, I think that would be a very interesting landing spot for him. You could, the Niners, they just drafted their guy in Trey Lance, and I thought that draft pick, or at least that number 3 pick, would have been good enough to lure him there, but I don't think Green Bay was ready to cut ties yet because all that happened so quickly. Aaron Rodgers to the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yes. I saw Browns fans all over today. I'm talking about dumb fan bases. I love Cleveland. I love the Cleveland Browns. But their fans are very loyal. But their fans are being very dumb when it comes to this. I saw all over Twitter and Facebook today that the Browns would be stupid to entertain the idea of trading Baker Mayfield for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't get why that is that crazy of an idea. If you look at the situation that the Cleveland Browns are in right now, great wide receiving core, best offensive line in football, top 3 run game in football, one of the best pass rushing attacks in football. Their secondary's top 3 in football right now. They are loaded. They are stacked. They're in win now mode. Mm-hmm. And Baker Mayfield stepping out onto the field with that team, and I think he's very capable of it. I'm very confident that he can do it. Saying you want Aaron Rodgers over Baker Mayfield doesn't mean that I'm saying Baker Mayfield is not good. It just means Aaron Rodgers is better. Why would you not go for the better quarterback? Now, if you are a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, whose roster is garbage and is not ready to win right now, right, going after Aaron Rodgers makes zero sense. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, who has a very good defense, some formidable weapons on offense, that offense is not better than what the Packers currently have. It doesn't make sense to go get Aaron Rodgers because I don't think the Steelers are going to enter full-on rebuild mode, but I do think they're about to retool a lot of things post-Big Ben. They don't make sense. The Ravens have a good defense, decent offensive line. They added some weapons, but they don't make a lot of sense either right now, but make more sense than the Bengals or the. When you go down every team is in a different spot, right? But there are very few teams in football right now who are already made products. Like the Cleveland Browns, I put them yesterday as one of my top 3 Super Bowl contenders out of the AFC with Baker Mayfield. You add Aaron Rodgers to the Cleveland Browns, that's a Super Bowl favorite. The Cleveland Browns with Aaron Rodgers are better than the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Is Aaron Rodgers better than Patrick Mahomes? No, but he's not worse either, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's 1A and 1B. So to me, it would be a no-brainer. Why Browns fans are so locked in? We've waited so long to get our quarterback. We have our quarterback. Why would you give up on him? because Baker Mayfield's really, really good quarterback, but you don't know what's ahead as far as like he could be very good for the next 10 years and you'll win 9, 10, 11 games a year with Baker Mayfield moving forward. And you'll always be in the playoff conversation. This is the best roster Baker will ever play on because as he gets paid and other guys, they're going to have to start cutting people because of roster, cap restrictions and everything else. This is a already made product. It is literally just drop an elite quarterback in and watch him go to the finish line. That's what this Browns team is. This isn't a coming off an 0-16 year adding Aaron Rodgers. That wouldn't make any sense. But the Browns are ready now. You have your receivers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers with OBJ and Jarvis Landry and Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Austin Hooper and that offensive line and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I mean, my goodness. I mean, the amount of weapons that he has good weapons in Green Bay, but it's nothing compared to what he would have in Cleveland. And then that defense now that Cleveland has. Look out. I'm telling you right now, Aaron Rodgers to the Cleveland Browns would make them instant Super Bowl favorites. They're already a contender with Baker Mayfield, but I'm not picking the Browns over Kansas City. I know I picked them over Kansas City last year, but I'm always going to pick my Browns, but overall, I'm not going to head into the season and say the Browns are winning the Super Bowl this year, but I have them getting to the AFC title game. But you put Aaron Rodgers in there, Browns are beating the Chiefs and they're beating the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl. That's how good that Browns team could be with Aaron Rodgers. They are capable of it with Baker Mayfield. They are the favorites with Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. The bottom line is you're going to give up on dropping Aaron Rodgers in this lineup right now to have Baker for the next 10 years, knowing that the roster is going to get picked apart the next couple. This is the best roster you'll ever have. Why would you not complement it with the best quarterback that's in the league right now or the second best, the reigning MVP? It's a long shot. He's not going to Cleveland, but I heard Max Kellerman and everyone debating it today on First Take, and I was like, no, that's dumb. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh, wait, no. This would be the best situation for Aaron Rodgers. It would be the best situation for Cleveland. And it does not mean that I'm saying Baker Mayfield is not good. It's just me saying and using common sense, something that fans of the other team an hour south from here lack. It's common sense. Common sense is Aaron Rodgers is better than Baker Mayfield, but that doesn't make Baker Mayfield bad. That's all.
It just comes down to this. It turns into a situation when it almost reminds me of the NBA when LeBron was on the Lakers his first year. And then the next year, all the young talent was gone so they can get Anthony Davis. And now we see that young talent that the Lakers had flourishing. You see Brandon Ingram. He's an all-star now. You see what Julius Randle is doing. Lonzo stepping his game up. All this young talent across the league that used to be on the Lakers is flourishing. So you can get this one guy, Anthony Davis, who is better than all of them, right? So that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a situation where if the Browns were to do it and trade away the young, talented quarterback for the veteran who we know is a Hall of Famer, who's going to have a gold jacket, who's going to be going down in the history of the NFL football, if it works out, it was worth it. But if it doesn't work out, that if factor, if it doesn't work out, and if they see Baker flourishing, if Baker, my goodness, goes to Green Bay and they win a Super Bowl and we don't win a Super Bowl, we gave them away. Like, I think that's the fear of the fan base. Like, look, we gave away the young guy for the old guy, and the old guy only played 2 more years and he didn't even get us a championship, while the young guy's out here still balling and he still got 10, 15 years to play football for opportunity to win a Super Bowl. I think that's the fear. I think people are, scared that, like, man, it's a gamble. I don't think it's a for sure thing. I mean, obviously it's the NFL, nothing's for sure, but I think it is a gamble. I don't think there's just a simple, like, all right, man, we go ahead and get Aaron Rodgers and you might as well book our tickets for the Super Bowl because we're going.
But it's more definitive than Baker with the Browns right now. Like I said, they're Super Bowl contenders, but they're not contenders with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they're 1A, 1B. Like, it's not 1A, 1B right now with Baker Mayfield as far as the Browns and the Chiefs are concerned. And this is just as simple as, okay, we have good chances to win it right now. But, like, I think NFL executives, front office guys, GMs especially, GMs are thinking, do you think GMs are thinking 10 years from now?
No, owners should be thinking that way, though.
But GMs are put in place. And the thing is, this is different than in other sports. GMs in football, like, they get more leeway than any, like, owners in baseball run their teams. They have GMs in place to guide them with the decisions. But outside of Jerry Jones and others, most organizations, like the GMs, are pulling the strings. They're making the decisions because the ownership has looked at them. GMs get fired left and right in the NFL more than any other sport because they're given the most power than in any other sport. Owners in basketball are making more of the decisions than the GMs. Baseball especially. We're watching it with the Cincinnati Reds. Nick Kroll, they had a GM by committee, basically. When it was good news to announce Dick Williams would be the GM for the day, when it was bad news to announce Nick Kroll would be the GM. It was so frustrating. But with football, it's the GM's team. So GMs think, man, for one, I don't think, obviously, Andrew Berry's done a fantastic job. His job is definitely not in jeopardy, but can you imagine being the GM that brings a Super Bowl to Cleveland? The ego that, it's not even an ego, it would be the confidence, it would be your legacy. And I think that Andrew Berry right now has to ask himself, okay, it's a gamble. I'm basically gambling on my career to do this, but if I bring Aaron Rodgers here, and by the way, if I think Browns fans could even forgive if it doesn't work out, but I think that the excitement level of bringing Aaron Rodgers here and having a chance is more than enough. It's kind of like with Cleveland. If you had to sell the farm to get LeBron to come back, which obviously he came back as a free agent, I don't think anyone would be upset about that. I mean, as long as you're trying. There's some organizations like Cleveland who you got to go balls to the wall to try, because doing it the old way doesn't work for Cleveland. And right now, you're winning because you have a ton of talent, but as the quarterback gets paid and others, you're going to lose that talent and you might lose the opportunity. This might be your last shot to actually pull the trigger on making this happen. Not Aaron Rodgers per se, but winning a Super Bowl. This is the best Cleveland roster they've had since coming back to Cleveland. And the best way to enhance it all is Aaron Rodgers. Super Bowl contenders with Baker, Super Bowl favorites, in my opinion, with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think you would have to give up as much as you think, because Deshaun Watson, if you trade for him, again, I'm taking the off-the-field stuff off the field out of the conversation. But before we knew about the off-the-field issues he had, we were talking about, man, if you look at the multiple first-rounders that Matthew Stafford got to get, but Stafford has a good 3-4 years left in the league. Deshaun Watson's another 9 to 10 years still left in the league. That's why those guys are worth so much. Aaron Rodgers has 2-3 years max. 2 years of really good football, 1 of great football, most likely. And I just think that that's why it would be a situation where you're probably giving up a first round in 22, maybe a first round in 23, and throwing a skilled player on top of it. I just think that if you're Cleveland, when I saw Browns fans today saying absolutely not, I'm like, why? This isn't, I mean, it's cutthroat. It's football. It's sports. Not everything is coddling the quarterback's feelings.
Would Green Bay want Baker? Because they did draft Jordan Love.
I mean, look, but they drafted Jordan Love, and it's a win-win for them because they can move in and say, Jordan Love is our guy, but if he's not there, we have a very capable starter who is very, very good on Baker Mayfield. And it's one of those things where they still come out looking clean on top. Look, there's no reports out there of Cleveland doing this. This started out as a conversation piece because we just assumed he was going to the West Coast. This is an article put out earlier today on ESPN.com from Bill Barnwell, ESPN staff writer. Here's the 7 most likely destinations for Aaron Rodgers. The number 7, Kev, the Tennessee Titans. They break it down by what the team can get and what the Packers would get. So the Packers would get quarterback Ryan Tannehill. And by the way, I like him going to Tennessee. I just don't think their defense is that good, and I don't think that I think the defense in Green Bay is better. I think Green Bay's situation is better than Tennessee's, although they do have weapons. Can you imagine him and Derrick Henry though? That's pretty impressive.
AJ Brown.
But so the Packers would get Tannehill in the 2022 first round and the 2023 first round. The Titans would get Aaron Rodgers and the 2023 fourth round pick. I don't know how he just assumes all this stuff, but again, it's the article. I'm just reading it. The next team up, the Raiders, number 6 on the list. The Las Vegas Raiders would get, or the Packers, would get Derek Carr, a 2022 first round pick, the Packers get this. I'm sorry. Derek Carr goes to the Packers. The Packers also get a first round in 2022, a second round in 2022, and the first round in 2023. I don't think if you're the Raiders, you have to, I think that's fine. I think you give up a couple first rounds over the next couple of years to get Aaron Rodgers. We're watching the Rams give up first round picks left and right for guys like Jalen Ramsey and others. I don't think giving up first round picks for a guy like Aaron Rodgers is something to even scoff at.
No doubt about it. It's just a simple fact of, as much power as Aaron Rodgers is wielding right now, he doesn't have a no trade clause. So technically they could send him anywhere they want.
They have the
They could
leverage
send
there.
him to Alaska if they had a football team for a pack of peanuts if they felt like it. You know
He
what I
doesn't
mean?
have a no trade clause, but he could still play the
I'm not playing.
I'm not playing. I'm going to retire. He's so far into his career. Like Deshaun Watson, again, I don't want no jokes about what he's going through right now. I'm not talking about that. Deshaun Watson, let's say he did not have that no trade clause because he does have one. So he would have to sign off on where he goes. You know, he's so young and early in his career, he couldn't threaten to retire. I mean, we've seen guys like Barry Sanders and we've seen Megatron do it and stuff, but he's not going to do that.
No, I mean, he can't do that because he's just now starting to hit his big money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
but Aaron Rodgers has made it. And his big money, his biggest money of all time might come Jeopardy if that's the case. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a no trade clause, but he still has the leverage as far as that goes because he doesn't have to go play anyway. He can go to Cleveland for 1 year and retire after that. Like that's the one thing these teams have to be careful of. Number 5 on the list is Cleveland. They have the Cleveland Browns. If they were to get this done, the Green Bay Packers would get Baker Mayfield, David Njoku, and the first round picks of 22 and 23. If that offer was on the table and the Browns accepted, I would be all for it. I would be all for it. You're giving up your first round picks for 22 and 23. Bengals fans have taught me that first round picks mean nothing, and that all the real talent comes in the second round anyway. So I mean that's what I mean. So I mean that's where you get your good kickers. That's where you really go ham in the draft. So there you go. Interesting. The Giants on this list, Kev.
G-Man. Giants got a good defense. Danny Dimes is the guy that everybody is looking at to make a major step up. They spent money in free agency on wide receivers. They made a draft pick on Tony from Florida, another wide receiver. Saquon Barkley's coming back. On paper, they got a lot of weapons. They retooled the offensive line. I just don't see that being the move. What would they be giving up? Let me hear that first.
So the Packers would get, again, it's a lot of this is the same stuff, but the first round picks in 22.
So basically they're starting quarterback and 2 first round picks.
The Giants have a good package here because they have 2 first round picks in 22. So they have 2 first, so they would give up both first round picks in 22 and the first round pick in 23, but that's a conditional pick that they got from the Bears, and then wide receiver Darius Slayton. Which whatever.
I need that. I need that weapon.
I don't know why the Packers would have to. I mean, the Packers would need. I mean, they would like Darius Slayton, but why would the Giants need to give up Darius Slayton? We are giving you a future with these picks here. I don't know why you would need to give if the Browns had to give up Njoku, so be it. In fact, throw in the Cavs with the trade. Who cares? Cavs are garbage. So do what you got to do, Cleveland. But no, like this, I don't know why. It's all cap stuff too. That is the other thing to think about. The Giants, if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you may not have the cap for Darius Slayton. So it's you're basically sending. You're cutting off the money. Yeah. Next up on the list, the Miami Dolphins, which again, I like this too. I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, all these teams make a ton of sense. The Packers would get the first round picks of 22, 23. They'd get a 5th round pick in 23 and a first round pick from the Steelers that they got in 22. Mm-hmm. So there you go. And then, what? It says that the Steelers would get Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins would get Rodgers 2023 first round pick. Did they mean to say Steelers there? I don't think they meant to say Steelers. I think they meant
doing 3-team deals in NFL now.
I guess.
The NBA.
I ain't even tried to read all through that. Washington football team. Washington is out because I don't see them trading him in the NFC. But Washington does make. I mean, Terry McLaurin. They have some good weapons. They have a good run game. They have a good offensive line, and that defense that's on par with what the Buccaneers have. Washington's interesting. It's just not West Coast.
See, the thing about it is, I think that Green Bay is going to do exactly what they did with Brett Favre. When Brett Favre was pulling his shenanigans, they asked him where he wanted to go. He said Minnesota. They sent him to the New York Jets. Like, they can send Aaron Rodgers wherever they want. I'm a player's guy. But in this case, they still wield the power because he doesn't have a no trade clause, unlike Deshaun Watson. So he can hoop and holler and talk about, I want to go to San Francisco. I want to go to the Denver Broncos. I want to go to the Raiders. You can say that till you blue in the face. If Joe Blow team from down the street says, hey, man, we want to give you a first round pick, a this round pick, and that round pick, that's where you're going. They're going to send them to, they can be spiteful and just send them to anywhere. They can say, all right, we just holding out for the best deal. They can say, like, all right, no NFC team. We don't want to send them to any NFC team, so it's only going to be AFC teams. So that could limit his destinations as well. Like the Packers really can control where he ends up. Now he can control if he plays or not because, he has the rings. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And most importantly, he's got the money and he's got his options and everything like that. But if he truly wants to play again, him, his agent, and the Green Bay Packers are going to have to come to a meeting and talk it out. And like I talked about before with the whole situation with Russell and the Seahawks, communication. They got to communicate because when Green Bay decided to take Jordan Love in the first round, all it took was dialing up Aaron Rodgers or dialing up his agent and telling them, this is the plan. We're looking to draft him. We're looking to build with the heir apparent. You're still our guy for the next 2 years. Let's go try to win this thing. If you know that Aaron Rodgers is a a-hole, if you know Aaron Rodgers is extra sensitive and spiteful, they've been dealing with him for like 15 years. You got to know that. If you and I know that and everybody else across the media landscape knows that, you might want to manage your player and reach out to him and tell him, but they didn't. So that's on them. So all this friction is on them. And yes, Aaron Rodgers is wrong for a lot of this stuff too. So it's nobody's right. It's a lot of wrong going on both sides. But I just look at the standpoint of Green Bay, dial him up. You dial him up, you tell him the plan. And then when he gets mad, because he was going to get mad either way, let's be real.
It's like, you're not going to beg me to stay? Or, so you don't want me to stay? You want to trade me? Or if they want you to stay, nope, kiss the ring. Kiss the ring. Wash my feet. Do all this.
So after he gets mad, you can do your part and make sure you leak that to the media and say, hey, man, we reached out to him. We told him to
cover your ass, basically. Yeah, like, hey, we did our part.
Yeah, we did our part.
Admit you were wrong in the handling of this, not 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Say, we played a role in the fallout of this, but we also tried to be the bigger person, and we approached him to see what we could do to work, what's best for both sides. He refused to meet. Now it's on him. This is interesting.
But they didn't do that.
Both sides are disliked publicly.
Oh, man, Aaron Rodgers is a bleep hole. And like, everybody knows that.
And it's like, but also people are in the player empowerment mode right now where it's like the team's always wrong no matter what. But it's like, well, we don't really like this guy, though. So it's like, it's a win for the league because it's a win for the league if he gets out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and Green Bay is boring, but I do like, I just, there's something about Green Bay, the nostalgia of that franchise. It's like, you like Green Bay being in the mix of things when it's all said and done. But
what did they say about the Broncos? Because
I'll get to that. Hold on real quick. So real quick, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, there's another thing too. I'm seeing in every one of these multiple first round picks. I'm sorry, with his age and with how difficult he is, like, I know you're not a dog person, but you could have the cutest dog in the world. The dog's friendly with kids, loves old people, loves young people. But if that dog pees in the house all the time, now all of a sudden all the great things about that dog makes it very difficult to find it a home. And that's Aaron Rodgers. He pees in the home from time to time, but he's great with kids. He's great with with strangers. He's a good dog. But he pees in the house a little too much. So when that happens, it's difficult to get rid of him because there's a lot of traits about him that make him desirable for other people, for other teams. When you have a cute little dog and a puppy, it's a cute puppy. Everyone's lining, oh, I want that dog. I want that puppy. I want that. Oh, he pees in the house. Oof. I don't know. So are you're going to charge me for a dog that pees in the house? I mean, I'll take it off your hands and we'll potty train it, but I don't really want to pay a lot of money for that dog that pees in the house all the time. What if you're Denver or Cleveland or someone else that says, man, he's the cutest little dog. I have a lot of kids. He'll do great with the kids, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about him peeing in the house. I'm not willing to pay that much money that you're asking for a dog that pees in the house. We're going to have to knock that down some. I don't think the Packers come away with a ton in return here. They can ask all they want, but I'm telling you, I know I was being a smartass there, but I'm not. It's the same thing. I don't care how cute that puppy is. If that puppy is not a house-trained puppy and it's going to pee in the house, I don't care how cute it is. I don't care if you put the Sarah McLachlan music behind it, in the eyes of an angel and all that stuff. It doesn't matter.
I feel you.
Yeah, and I think that's for Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos can call and say, look, we really want him, but if we bring him here, are we getting him for 1 year, 2 years? Well, we can't answer that. Does he want to play here? We can't answer that. Oh, and you want 2 or 3 first-round picks? I don't know. I think we can do 1 first-round pick a player, maybe a 5th-round pick or something. I don't think they're going to get multiple first-round picks. I think the Rams are going to get way more for Stafford I think that the Rams are going to get. I think that Detroit's going to. They're going to blow the Packers away with what they got for Stafford versus what Green Bay will get for Aaron Rodgers.
Where I was at with it on draft night when all this news broke, because the first team we heard about was the San Francisco 49ers, and everybody was like, give up that 3 pick. And I'm like, I'm not giving up the 3 pick, dude. He's freaking 40. I'm not giving up the 3rd pick. He's 40, dude. He could say he could play one season, win the Super Bowl, or not win the Super Bowl and say, all right, I'm on to Jeopardy. I'm not giving up the 3 pick. Now, next year, when I'm already projected to be a good team and we'll be picking in the 30s or whatever, yeah, I'll give you that pick, but I ain't giving up the 3rd pick. That's where I was at with it on draft night. But I'm with you. Like, I see a lot of 3rd round picks. Like, hey man, you can get 2 2s and 2 3s.
Get a lot of kickers in that 3rd round.
Like, and I mean, you can get a lot of good players in there.
Yes, you can.
But I can't. Maybe a 1, but it just depends on the type of team that I already have and the projection of where we're going to be. Because if we're like, just say, throw out for instance, like we're a middle of the road team and we could end up like with the 10th pick, I don't know.
Like Washington. They're going to win 8-9 games.
Yeah, they're going to be like a 10th.
They won 10 or 11 last year. They didn't even make the playoffs. Like they
5 first-round
So
picks.
you trade if you trade him to the Dolphins, you're going to get that 22, 23 first-round pick, but that's going to be a 14 or 15th overall pick. So you talked about Denver, Kev. They have Denver giving up Patrick Surtain, wide receiver Tim Patrick, Drew Lock, a 2022 first-round pick, and a 2023 first-round pick. That's not happening. Denver. Now that makes sense. Like if you throw out all the variables of Aaron Rodgers' mentality, like his mental state, his dedication to football at this point. The one thing I will say about Aaron Rodgers, the reason I believe that you could feel good, like if he didn't have any fight left in him, Kev, to play, I think he would just retire by now.
Right.
So I think if Aaron Rodgers does accept a trade, or it's not really up to him to accept, but if he moves forward with the trade, I think the fire that's burning inside of him, Kev, is his legacy, and that legacy is that one Super Bowl is not cutting it anymore. He's gone an entire decade without winning a Super Bowl. He's gone an entire decade without getting to a Super Bowl. I think he desperately needs another Super Bowl. I think he desperately wants another Super Bowl. He's not going to catch Tom Brady, but you could argue he has been better than Tom Brady from a quarterback skill standpoint.
It's a lot of Peyton Manning. It's a lot of Peyton Manning in him. Like Peyton Manning has 2 championships
with 2 different teams.
Yeah, he obviously won one with the Colts, lost one with the Colts, then lost one with the Broncos, won one with the Broncos. So, to watching him play, everybody knows how great he is. But, in the future when, people are just, watching highlights and everything like that, people to go Google him like, oh, man, he put up all these stats and all these touchdowns and everything like that. Oh, he only got 1. And it's so sad that we're in a society where he only won 1, but that's where we are. That's where we are when we're trying to rank the top quarterbacks of all time, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. Well, how many championships did you lead your team to? How many Super Bowls did you actually win? And right now he's stuck at 1. And I think you're right. He wants that second one, because if you get 2, you're like, all right, I'm good.
And it's not just 2; it's with a different team. Like, I think that winning. I know it sounds weird. Do you think going with the Packers is more? 2's 2.
Yeah, 2 is 2 for him. And I mean, Green Bay is such a storied franchise. They won the first Super Bowl and all that type of stuff. They got some of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play. With Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and him. It's like a lineage. And I mean, plus that I would imagine he wants to have one more Super Bowl than Brett Favre as well. You know what I'm saying? They still don't get along.
All right, 457-9464. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. When we come back, we'll talk a little NBA. LeBron James, not a fan of the NBA's play-in tournament. In fact, he tried to come back prematurely to help. He watched his team. The Lakers were dwindling. They were starting to pick up more losses. He's panicking because he doesn't want to play in that play-in tournament. He came back prematurely, I guess. And LeBron gets injured again. He's sat out a game 2 nights ago, and that's when the Lakers got a big win, of course, knocking off the Jazz. And now he's off for the next 2 nights as well. How much trouble are the Lakers in, and what does the future of LeBron James look like? And what does him complaining about this tournament really mean? What is he really saying here? Because he did say that he will never be 100% again, and I'm gonna roll my eyes with you at that one, because LeBron is the GOAT. in my opinion. But we're not going there. But Kevin and I are going to talk NBA without shouting at one another. When I say shouting at one another, without me shouting. And we're going to debate this. LeBron said that he will never be 100% again. Kobe walked off after tearing his ACL, and LeBron can't come back from a high ankle sprain. Man, it's tough to defend him sometimes. We'll be back in a moment. Stop laughing. It's my quarterback.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 60. Tonight's going to be mainly clear, a low around 40. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 65. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Kirkland from ESPN. Football has played a big part in my life, but football's also a lot more than just big plays, wins, losses, and championships. Football teaches young people about dedication, sacrifice, teamwork, and overcoming adversity. So let's respect the game and get out and support your local school. You'll be amazed of all the good things you see happening at Ohio schools.
This message brought to you by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the OHSAA Radio Network.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
It helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
and will give someone in my community
A second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I opened the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Urban Meyer, who has always gotten in trouble for not firing people when he should, he laid the hammer down yesterday. He fired 4 members of his staff.
Really? Didn't see that story.
I didn't either until it literally just popped up. Now, this came out yesterday afternoon. The Jaguars and Urban Meyer have fired 4 long-time. I love how it says the Jaguars and Urban Meyer. I don't know if it's keep in mind, in college, the coach is coming from college to the NFL. I know we think Bill Belichick has a huge ego, and rightfully so. I don't think NFL head coaches have egos, Kev, because I think they're so worried. I mean, they are constantly feeling like they're not doing a good job. You know what I mean? Like, they can get fired like that. But in college, these mofos, look at the stuff that these guys get away with in college. It's just now coming out. I mean, you look at the Les Miles situation. Like, these guys have egos. These guys have that we're above the law mentality. Yeah. I'm not accusing Urban of that necessarily, although he has made some very strange decisions in the past. Like, I'll defend Urban to this point. I do believe in Urban's head he is always trying to do the right thing. By keeping Zach Smith and other pieces around, it wasn't like, I'm trying to put these horrible human beings around these adults to be a bad influence. He believed he was helping Zach Smith. Right. So, it's not, this light that's shed on Urban as if he's this horrible person. I just think that his loyalty is what cost him. We've had endless conversations about that in the past. But I find it funny, the Jaguars and Urban Meyer. If it was it would just be the Patriots doing this. It would just be the Cleveland Browns, not the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski. It's the Jaguars and Urban Meyer, and it's one of those two. I think that the Jaguars are controlling the narrative a bit because they want people to know, hey, Urban's making these decisions. Because the Jaguars don't want people questioning the ownership about, well, are you worried that Urban's loyalty could be a problem? Because there's a lot of people who are upset about Tim Tebow getting a workout to be a tight end, and there's a good chance he makes the team from the report that I read today that the Jags like what they've seen from his private workouts so far. Which, again, what is Urban going to tell him? No, you don't look good. But this article is interesting. The Jaguars and Urban Meyer have fired 4 longtime employees in the scouting and personnel department. This doesn't necessarily count, but these guys do play big roles, including one who has been with the franchise since its inception. A league source confirmed to ESPN. Andy Dangler, the assistant director of player personnel, Chris Driggers, director of pro personnel, Mark Ellens, director of college scouting, and Paul Roel, assistant director of college scouting, were fired on Monday. The group has a combined 66 years of experience with the Jaguars. We rip Urban for being loyal to a fault, but it sounds like the Jags have a little bit of that syndrome too. That's not much of a winning. They haven't done enough winning to have that many people under the franchise umbrella for that amount of years. Like, I could see if the Steelers had that. I could see if the Patriots have had that, or even maybe not the Chiefs. They've kind of come along over the last 5 or 6 years. But you know what I mean? Like, that's a bad franchise who they just had to let go of these guys who had a combined 66 years of experience with the team from the get-go, from when they were, came into the league. I find this interesting, and I do like it. I think it's needed. I'm just curious. These guys are going out. Who's Urban bringing in?
Right. And my question, and this is a question, this isn't a criticism, this is just a question. Why would you fire them after? Shouldn't you have fired them like when you got hired and had a whole new
the timing's
staff
off before the draft? Wrong Monday.
I just don't get that. And if anybody out there listening could give me a reason why, I'm all ears. I just don't understand the firing after you let them scout all your players for the NFL draft.
The college scout for them.
Yeah, you scouted, you used them to scout the guys. You got their evaluations and everything like that. They helped you pick the guys for your team. Why wouldn't you have had your guys in place doing all these things prior to the draft. I just don't know.
I don't know if maybe Urban Meyer realized after the draft, hey, we just finished up this draft without any contributions from any of them. Urban's fresh out of college. Even with him not coaching the last 2 years, he was still in the college ranks in regards to, you know what I mean? He's working within college. I think he took care of a lot of that college scouting side of things. But I am curious. You're right, though. Like a lot of these, like the assistant director of college scouting, director of college scouting, director of player personnel, director of pro personnel. Like maybe these guys have 0% role. They have a 0% role in the draft at all. Maybe it's just one of those, hey, we pick the players, you work with them after we give them to you. But the scouting for the college side is what I find interesting. Did they play a role? Did they help you with the draft and then you cut them after? It goes on to say that these moves, which was first reported by the Associated Press, are unsurprising because of Coach Urban Meyer's reorganization of the franchise. Meyer has expanded the coaching staff to 27, added a chief of staff in Fernando Lavo, and merged nutrition, strength and conditioning, and training into the sports performance department, which is a former Buckeye and Anthony Schlegel, who, I'm really excited for him, by the way. I usually see him every summer over at Indian Lake when they do, that big, it's that branch of the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer that they do.
That's when you
which
see
is really
JT,
cool.
isn't it?
That's right. I'll never forget that. Luckily, I'm a nobody. No one knows who the hell I am. And I was never happier to be a nobody that day. Every day I'm like, I hope one day I become somebody. But I was so happy to be a nobody that day. When say, hey, Justin, JT Barrett. I'm like, JT, I knew that was you. I'm a big fan.
What's up, man?
I don't dislike JT. I'm just saying. Anyways, where were you? You threw me off. Okay. The association. Good stuff. All right. So with that being said, LeBron James, a little upset. He's a little upset right now because as we currently sit here, his Lakers are in a position, the defending NBA champions. By the way, when him and Anthony Davis were healthy, they were the number 1 seed in the West. They were the favorites to win the championship. It looked like a full crash course collision to the finals of the Nets against the Lakers. The problem is that the two teams who have the two biggest stars, they're both been battling injuries for the Durant for all season. LeBron really more in the second half. LeBron, as a month and a half ago, was the favorite to win the MVP, and now the dude can barely walk. So the Los Angeles Lakers are a 6 seed right now. The seeds 7 through 10 play in the play-in tournament. The Los Angeles Lakers have a 1-game lead on your Dame Time Portland Trailblazers. Right now, if the playoffs started today, the Lakers would be in the clear. They would not have to play in the play-in tournament, but because of LeBron's desperation to come back prematurely, that says to me that the confidence level is not there for the Lakers and LeBron James and this Lakers team, Kev, because how many times have we heard them say seeding doesn't matter? We don't care about seeding. We feel we could beat anyone in the tournament. So I like that confidence when I hear that. I don't like it because I think it sends the wrong message to the fans, because to me that says regular season doesn't matter.
Right.
But I believe them when they say we don't care about seeding. We just, once we're in the playoffs, we'll be fine. But now this is different because I don't think anyone expected the Lakers to finish in the play-in seedings. And to me, this says that there is panic within the franchise, that there is a lot of behind-the-scenes panic because they don't feel confident enough to win games to keep above that drowning line to get in that play-in tournament. LeBron James, by the way, a year ago said he was a fan of the play-in tournament. I know what point you're going to make, and you did change my view on how I think about that. But LeBron says whoever came up with that blank needs to be fired. And he was ticked off about the play-in tournament. Again, the Lakers and the NBA playing 72 games this year, 10 less than usual. Of course, the thought of resting players and stuff has been brought up as a problem for the league and everything else on a season that's already been played 10 less games. LeBron came back 2 nights ago, re-aggravated that high ankle sprain. Now is going to be out for the next couple of games as well. They got a big win over the Jazz the other night. The Lakers did. Anthony Davis, that's his best game since coming back off the injury. Lakers, I don't know who the favorite is out of the West. The Suns are the 1 seed. I love what Chris Paul. Chris Paul's my MVP, by the way, just so you know. I know I've always been anti-Chris Paul, but I love what he's doing. Should the Lakers be worried? Is this a championship team right now? And let me ask you, is it a championship team, and is this a play-in team?
Oh, man, there's so many different ways to go with this. So I'll answer the first one. Yes, they're in trouble. They're in trouble because this game on Friday night is the biggest game of their season because they played Portland on Friday. If Portland wins that game on Friday, they're 2 up. They will be 2 up on the Lakers because they will have a better record than the Lakers, and they will have the season series over the Lakers. So that will put them in the 7th spot off the rip. So, yes, they're in trouble. And they're also in trouble because Anthony Davis, he's always banged up. This is going banged up since he was playing at Kentucky. There's always something wrong with him. It's no knock on him. He's just always banged up. LeBron, so he's been in Los Angeles 3 seasons. 2 out of those 3 seasons, he's been banged up, and not banged up as in, oh man, I'm gonna be out like 2 days and I'm back, like he was when he was playing with the Cavs the first time and the Heat. Like, he's been out for a while. Like the hamstring, and obviously this high ankle sprain, like that has nothing to do with his age or anything like that. But when you are at his age, you do find it harder to bounce back from those type of injuries, like a high ankle sprain and a hamstring and everything like that, because the hamstring basically knocked him out for the back half of that first year, and now he's dealing with this high ankle sprain. And then let's not forget their point guard Dennis Schroeder, he's out 10 days or the rest of the regular season for COVID protocol situation, so he's out. So you got to have somebody small enough to be running around chasing all these point guards, like a Chris Paul, like a Dame Lillard. So there's nobody that's going to be doing that. You're going to put Alex Caruso on him for 48 minutes? I think not. You're going to put
the Manscaped guy.
Yeah, I mean, for extended period of times, no. You don't want to do that. So you need Dennis Schroeder, but he's not going to be there. So the reason the play-in is they want to avoid the play-in desperately, because I don't necessarily they're not scared to play these teams that are in the play-in because they're better than those teams. But it's the fact that the teams that are not playing in the play-in, they get a week off. They get a week off.
Lakers need a week off.
They need a week off because the best player, LeBron, is still ailing with the ankle injury, and AD, your second best player, is always hurt. So giving him some more time to rest up for the playoffs is ideal. So if they don't get that, if they get into the playoffs without the play-in, if they're able to do that, they'll be fine. They'll be able to make a run for a championship. But them having to play in the play-in and then have to go through the playoffs in the Western Conference, that's going to be trouble for them. And the whole LeBron thing, oh man. Like, y'all falling for it. Please don't fall for this, people. This is a ploy. This is LeBron at his best. This is better than LeBron passing. This is better than him passing the ball. This is better than him shooting the ball. Y'all falling for it, man. He is making this. Oh, my ankle. Oh, my ankle. We won a championship. I won a championship on one leg. We lost the championship, man. I was on one leg. Like, he is setting it up just like when they lost to Golden State the second time or third time, whatever time. I'm fine. I'm great. And then show up at the post-game press conference, hand in the ace bandage. Well, my hand was messed up, man. You know, that's just how it goes sometimes. Like, these are the things that LeBron does, which is fine. I don't care because I'm not falling for it. LeBron, you're great. Hope you play some good basketball because I enjoy watching you play, but I ain't falling for it. Just know that. I'm not falling for it.
What he should do is what your boy does and just quit. Michael Jordan quit twice. You know, when his ankle hurt, he just quit. I'm going to play baseball. Second time he quit, I'll come back and play for the Wizards. No, I agree with you, actually. Look, LeBron's actually hurt.
Yes,
but LeBron has this habit of embellishing a lot. I mean, there are times, like, I'm not against charges, and I'm not against players trying to fake a charge to get the call. Like, I just think, I mean, that's so different than in football when you do the hard count and you try to get them to jump off sides. I mean, it's different. We don't have time to go into that argument, but it's anyway. My point is I saw one the other day where it's one thing to try to sell a flop, but like a player went up in the elbow, it looked like it hit him, but like they slowed it down. The elbow didn't come close to his nose. He holds his nose, drops to the ground, lays on his back, holds it, rolls it. I'm like, my goodness, he's going to win some acting awards one day.
Space Jam 2 is going to be excellent.
That's another thing. He's going to be better than MJ at acting. But with that being said, LeBron, when he said that, I'm never going to be healthy again, I'm like, oh, here we go. I was like, I knew he was going to get blasted for that. And even I was like calling BS on that because I'm like, what do you mean you're never going to be healthy again? That's so dramatic. You had a high ankle sprain. Kobe Bryant had his whole ACL just torn to shreds, and he stood up, made a free throw, and walked off for the rest of the season. You, high ankle sprain, and you're about to shut it down for the year. Like, that's what I'm talking about. But no, LeBron, you could tell that he's uncomfortable, that the Lakers are uncomfortable.
Yes,
they were in control. You know, they even, Anthony Davis and all them, you knew what you were getting with Anthony Davis, an injury-prone guy. Last year actually was probably his most healthy year. And this year it's more of what we've been accustomed to. So it is what it is. But I think once the Lakers get into the playoffs, I am worried about that play-in tournament, though. Yeah. They play the Golden State Warriors. I'm concerned. I don't feel good about that.
As great as Steph is and as great as Steph is playing, if LeBron is playing versus the Golden State Warriors, LeBron and the Lakers are going to win.
But keep in mind, it's not a series.
You're right.
That's why, and it reminds me of March Madness. I pick a lot of upsets based on, a mid-major team, but they have this killer guard that can't miss from three. It's a mid-major Golden State Warriors
That
team.
would be primetime TV. Lakers Warriors with LeBron, AD versus Steph, and the band.
And win all. Win or go home.
Yeah.
So I hated the play-in tournament concept at the beginning, but I love the wrinkle of it's win or go home. Like the Lakers could finally get healthy, have everyone back. Dennis Schroeder, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Everyone's going to go, and then Steph Curry goes off. I think he's hit like 300 threes 4 times already.
Ridiculous.
The rest of the NBA, that's only happened once. I mean,
Ridiculous.
like not an individual, like a team. Like it's insane what he's doing. It's crazy what he's doing.
He's on fire, dude.
And it's we haven't seen a scoring clip like this since Kobe. By the way, when Kobe was having that scoring range, that's when we were saying he was slowing down, which cracked me up. He was never the same after the ACL injury, which this is a high ankle sprain, LeBron. Stop it. Stop. I'm never going to be healthy again. Give me a break. But the Lakers are going to be fine if they could stay out of that play-in. If they get in the play-in, hopefully you run into the Spurs. The Spurs are sitting there at number 10. They'll be fine if they run into the Spurs. They'll be fine if they run into Memphis. Although Ja Morant, those guys, I'd hate to run into a guard. I'm worried about the team. Portland scares the hell out of me. You don't want to run into a team with, with Dame Lillard. You don't want to run into the Warriors with Steph Curry. And you could run into San Antonio.
You talked about Schroeder. You need him out there not only to initiate the offense. You really don't need him to do that. LeBron can do that, but you need a small guard to go chase and guard the other small guard. You need him to guard Dame. You need him to guard Steph because everybody else on the team is 6'5". They're not going to be running around chasing no dude that's 6'1" all day. They're just not.
Yeah, and by the way, I really do like this play. And I hated it at the beginning. I thought it was stupid last year. I thought that the bubble was gimmicky enough, but it was necessary because of COVID. Then you added that. I'm like, oh, stop. This is just a wrinkle to get what's his name, Zion in, which, by the way, they're going to have to expand the bubble if they want Zion in this year.
They're only 2 back. They're 2 back with 7 to go.
And it could be done, especially with the Spurs. The Spurs are, they've lost 4 straight.
They're falling out of it.
The Spurs have lost 4 straight. The Grizzlies have lost back-to-back games, and Warriors and Portland both coming off losses. But all those teams right now in their last 10, all under 500.
Yep.
The Blazers are 4-6 in their last 10. Golden State's at 5-5.
What's bad about the Blazers is they're 16-16 at home and 20-13 on the road. That speaks to the fact of a COVID season. That speaks to a fact that there aren't any fans in the building. You need that's why I'm not so sold on this. All right, man, we got to get home court advantage because there's really not a home court advantage. That's why I think if the Lakers are going to get that 6th seed, they'll be fine because, they're not going to be, they'll still have to travel, but, they're not going to be fighting the crowd noise as well. They're just going to be playing basketball. Yeah, there's going to be a couple thousand in there, but, 2,000 versus, 20,000 is a world of difference, man. So if the Lakers get the 6th seed, they'll be fine. But if they get in that play-in and have to play 2 games in the play-in tournament and they don't get that week off, that's where they'll be.
Here's the deal, though. The Lakers need the play-in tournament. Here's why.
Okay.
Well, maybe. No, hold on, because I don't know how this pans out. They need the 8th seed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're not going to get the 8th seed. But they need the 8th seed because I don't fear Phoenix. Phoenix is extremely talented. Don't get me wrong. But the Lakers, when healthy, LeBron James, Dennis Schroeder, Anthony Davis, I don't care how good Phoenix is. Phoenix has DeAndre Ayton, and that's about. They don't have anyone else that's going to stop LeBron and stop. So that matchup. If the Lakers get that 6th seed, that's probably the worst. I know this sounds dumb, but the 6th seed is the worst thing that can happen. Then you get the Clippers. The Clippers scare me more than the Suns. So now, if you get the 7th, you get the Jazz.
How much would you pay to go to that game?
I mean, I was disappointed that I wanted the Clippers and Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. That was what everyone wanted and all that. But yeah, fans for those games would have been nuts. You talked about, by the way, you could tell the difference, the lack of home court advantage. I heard that from college coaches all year where teams were playing better on the road because when you went on the road, it was, you were used to playing on the road. You were used to facing the elements on the road and the challenges on the road. When you were at home, you're not used to playing at home in an empty arena and just it wasn't business as usual. It was just
like the YMCA.
Exactly. So there's that. But I will say this. The play-in tournament, LeBron saying whoever created that needs to be fired. This is actually great for the league.
Absolutely.
I'm following the Spurs again and Memphis down the stretch and the Warriors and Portland and everyone and even the Pelicans. You look at the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference got bad, but how about this? I mean, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, they're playing great basketball. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're one of the hottest teams in basketball right now. And then, of course, you look at, they're playing great basketball. They're not in the play-in tournament talking about Milwaukee, but Milwaukee has won back-to-back games against Brooklyn and with Kevin Durant. And it was Giannis Antetokounmpo that outperformed Kevin Durant on both nights, coming away with the win. So that's huge. The Knicks, they're legit. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that, but they're the real deal. Like, they're in a good position. But LeBron crapping all over the play-in tournament, it reminds me of like last year when the Lakers weren't in position to make the play-in tournament. Oh, it's great for the league. It's great for intrigue. Gets more fans involved. You get Zion and the Pelicans involved. Like, LeBron was all about the play-in tournament last year. But then when his team's in the play-in tournament, it's the worst thing in the world. That's obnoxious. You know who that reminds me of? The Dayton Flyers.
Oh, my gosh.
Say why, Kenner?
Why, Jody?
This city loves the first four, right?
Right.
The first four is awesome. We are very fortunate to have the first four. The first four is amazing. It's awesome. The Dayton Flyers brag about it, although we're so lucky that this is the home floor. We play the UD Arena. It's an NBA arena. We host the first four. Blah, 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 blah. Selection Sunday. What? We're a first four team. The first four is crap. The first four is for losers. We're the Dayton Flyers. We're not a first four team. Only losers play in the first four. And I'm verbatim quoting UD. I mean, that's exactly what they were acting like. Kev, they were disgusted that they were a first four team. They were ticked. Their fans were ticked. The team was ticked, and it was embarrassing on their part. I'm like, all you do is brag about how great this tournament is for the city, and then when you got selected to play in the first 4 years ago, all you did was talk about how horrible it was. So it's hypocrisy. That's what LeBron James is the Dayton Flyers. It's hypocrisy. LeBron James loves the play-in tournament. Great for the league. It gets more teams involved. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, now we might be in the play-in tournament. Someone needs to be fired. It's embarrassing. LeBron James, Dayton Flyers, same. Have a great night, everybody.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.